All right. So we got episode 174 here. So basically, I'm just going to get right into it. Here's how to prepare for a cyber attack and what you could do like right now to prepare for this. So basically, the United States believes that Russia is going to launch a cyber attack against critical infrastructure, so communications, hospitals, agriculture, industry, things that make society run. This is a very scary thing. That most people don't know what to do and may overreact and do things that would be inadvisable or just kind of pointless in the long term. So a lot of people say go get cash, empty your bank account, which in some respects you can do. I'm not totally against that. I'm debating doing that, but I what's going to happen is if there is a crippling cyber attack and it does attack the banks and everything else, it's going to make the cost of everything go up because people can't access their debit cards and their credit cards, and most people won't be able to get to the bank in time. So, most likely, your entire life savings is going to be garbage anyway. Of course, if you want to save it in the long term, to just have it in cash and one day when the dollar bounces back, sure, reinvest. But it's not like the most pressing thing. The most pressing thing is your immediate survival. So taking enough money out to buy goods once that happens or right before that happens, um, getting radios, um, encrypting your computer, deleting things off of your computer like sensitive information, like if you have your social security number, client records, important memories, pictures, videos, clearing all the cookies, your web history, putting a VPN on your computer. These are the most important things to do in regards to immediately preparing for a cyber attack, as well as getting a communications network set up. So what do I mean by that? So I'm very big into ham radios and CB radios. I have 3 CBs and 1 ham. And I have the internet radio station that I've seriously neglected. And I also have this podcast. So there's a lot of things that I do in communication, but all this communication is useless if you don't know how to use it, and especially if you don't have friends that know how to use it. So one of the reasons why you should get a CB radio is because truckers know what to do when they can't transport their normal routes. So once something goes crazy or the phone lines drop, their CBs click on. So what you would do is essentially have one. You could even get like a handheld one for $100 or $80 even. And what you do is if the phone lines were shut down and you can't access anything, and say, most of the radio stations and television news networks are down, you turn on your CB to channel 19 and you'd listen to what the truckers were saying and what they got from their dispatch, because they're getting information from people in an office that it's in the corporate office kind of, or at least at the warehouse, so they know what's going on logistically. So you can get information about shipments being delayed, and what industries got hit, and what, like, the extent of the attack from the truckers, because they're going to be the first ones to know because they have to transport everything. So you're going to know basically what type of hauls are going to be disrupted and having to go back to the warehouse, or you're going to find out what's getting delivered or the extent of the attack. So that's why CB radios are really important in that one regard. In another regard, not that this will matter in the extent of an emergency, but like ham radios, you need a license to speak into. CB radios, you don't. So CB is really good for keeping in contact with the general community. Anyone can get one. You just need to hook it up or turn it on if you have a handheld, and you're in contact with all the people surrounding you and potentially across the country too. But that's getting into weather propagation, and I don't have enough time to explain all that. But it's really, CB radio is really good for close contact type of things, like within 60 miles of your home. Most radios, if you get a handheld, it's probably going to hit 4 or 5 miles of like someone picking you up if you transmit. But reception-wise, I pick up people from New Mexico all the time, and from Oregon and from California. So receiving won't be an issue, but transmitting-wise, you'll get about 1 to 5 miles on a handheld. And if it's a car-mounted CB radio, which is it's powered by the battery in your car, and you have a 5-foot or higher whip or antenna on the roof of your car, or you have an 8.5-foot whip or fire stick antenna on the rear of your car or on the front of your car, you should get anywhere from 15 to 65 miles of transmission, depending on the weather and such. But I was able to talk to people when I was going on the Cross Island Parkway, and they were back by like exit 57 on the LIE going east. So it wasn't, it was that was about 35 miles, and it was clear reception. So you're probably going to get a very long way if you use your car. But I recommend having a handheld CB because gas may not be able to be pumped, or, the ration, if they do ration gas in the event of a cyber attack, the likelihood of you using your car CBs is kind of moot. Or you could have a home-based CB radio set up, which is basically it's a 12-volt power supply that's plugged into your wall outlet, and then you take the wires for the CB and you plug it into the power supply, and then you mount an antenna either on. You could use like you could go crazy and mount something actually to the physical building, or you could use one of the glass mounts or an indoor radio, or an indoor antenna. I currently use an indoor antenna, but I might put one on my window to get better range. But those are the ways you could do it. One way to prepare for that, to have communication with people in your town or city. They're cheap. CB radios are they're the most affordable of communication options and survival gear. They range anywhere from 80 to, with an antenna, $90 to $100 at the cheapest you could possibly go, and expensive isn't always better. Cheap is relatively good with radios. So if you have $100, you could probably get a decent radio and be in communication with people. Ham radios are a little more pricey, so that's why a lot of people like myself go for Baofangs, which are handheld ham radios. I currently have one in my car, so I can't show you. But basically, ham radios are cool because licensed ham operators are required by law to be activated in a national emergency. So they'll be transmitting information to the military, the government, and to people that are listening on the frequencies, which is where you come in and myself comes in because I'm not licensed to operate a ham radio. So I can't transmit on a ham radio. Of course, anyone could just click push to talk and talk, but the whole shtick is that you need a license to operate it. It's really dumb, but whatever, it exists. So basically, in the time of an emergency, you would tune into your local frequency or the frequency of a county or town or municipality you want to monitor, and you could find that all on the internet. You just type in, Port Jefferson ham radio repeater, and then you would get a frequency to tune into for, your area. So basically, these are for, government, municipalities, and amateur radio emergency services that, will transmit important information. So, if there's like, hey, food distribution is here, or hey, there's a curfew at this time, or, there's an invasion force, or here's the extent of the attack. That's what a ham radio is good for. It's good to keep in contact with your police, your medical, your fire, and government and municipal updates, as well as, your local highway department. So that's one of the other benefits of having a ham radio. If you do want to listen, though, to the police and you're able to somehow get an internet signal in the event of a cyber attack, I don't know how that would even be possible, but I'm sure it is. What you would do is you would just look up, police scanner near me, and that's really it. Because a lot of police departments have a truncated system. So a truncated system is like it's an encrypted radio system that only the police can listen to, except through an internet frequency thing, which I don't understand how that's legal. I think it might. I don't know how that works, but apparently you can listen to it on the internet, but you can't listen to it on radios. Which I really don't understand, because more people actually have access to the internet than a CB or ham radio, so like it just kind of takes the fun out of it, you know what I mean? But whatever. So, radios are hugely important tools for surviving a cyber attack. Another important thing is the FM and AM radio. And my bag is too far to show you. But basically, a battery-powered and some spare batteries. Spare batteries are big too, because cyber attacks, they might shut down the electrical grid, and you won't be able to plug anything into the wall. So having plenty of batteries on hand is a great tool, or having one of those super big battery packs. Um, in the event of a cyber attack, I recommend a handheld radio over anything else, and battery powered especially. But if not, get one of those like big camping chargeable batteries, and get a bunch of power supply kits and charge those up as well as your devices. That's probably going to be your saving grace, to be honest. But make sure everything's battery powered. So a battery powered FM AM radio. So the extent of the cyber attack will vary. Certain radio stations and power grids may get hit harder than others. So if all the radio stations in your area get shut down, you could probably pick up, AM stations, farther down the country, because that's a lot of background noise in the air that's taken out once all the radio stations and cell lines are shut down. So you're probably going to be able to listen to an AM station in another state more than an FM station in the same state. Radio propagation is really weird. So it's important to have one of those because, radio is more likely to get back up and running faster than television. So I would definitely always have a radio on you just in case, there is a cyber attack and the news outlets in your area are shut down. There's also, what was I going to say? Knowing how to read a map is a big thing, because GPS might not work in the event of a cyber attack, or your phone may be hacked, so you won't be able to access anything. Making sure you have that, and knowing how to read a map, if anything, practice now how to read a map, getting around your local area. Having a compass. Compass is important. Learning horizon and, star guidance at night, as well as having, this is another one too, a lot of people don't know, hot water, or if you live in the rural areas with no city water and you live on a well, if you run out of electricity, obviously your water's not going to pump because the pump is electrically mounted. So fill up your bathtub. Well, clean your bathtub first, but fill up your bathtub with water, and so you drain the pipes and it's clean. And that's what you use to drink and bathe and cook out of. So, fill up all the water you can, buy water if you can, and just get as many things in print as you can. Learn how to navigate without a GPS in the event of that. Make a plan, too, with people in your area and your friends of, what to do if there is a cyber attack. Look up the government guidance as well, and see what they're saying in the event of a cyber attack. Currently, the president's not too worried about the Russian cyber attack. He thinks if there is one, it'll be limited in scale. He advised the business leaders of the country, which I cringe saying that, but whatever, that it's their patriotic duty to encrypt and invest in free federal resources to bolster their security networks. You should do that with your home too. So, the big corporations may not be the only ones hacked, and if AT&T is a big corporation, right? But they could get our information and sell it abroad. So, making sure that you get rid of all these sensitive documents on your computer and your cell phone, as well as, making sure your paper documents are readily available. Make copies of your paper documents, carry them with you. Your vaccine card, make sure that's good. There's a lot of things you need to do in order to be safe, I guess, in this new world. Definitely making copies of stuff and protecting your information. Change your passwords. Run a VPN, which is a virtual private network on your browser. So basically what that does is it bounces, it triangulates your internet around the world. So what it does is it constantly changes the location of your computer. So if I boot this up now, which I don't want to do, it might mess up the stream. But yesterday it had me in the Netherlands operating. So you wanna type in a VPN, just to protect yourself. You want to make sure your McAfee or your web browser, your computer protection is up to date. So your firewall is still good. You also want to make sure you like especially if you're in financial services, obviously you need to keep things like locked up, but like, you know, making sure you print out all the records you have or email it and save it on a hard drive disk and then delete it off your main computer. And another thing too that people forget is that if you don't unplug your hard drive or your SD cards or your USB drives, they hackers could still get into it because it's plugged into your computer or laptop. So unplug those when you're done using them. And, just monitor your computer like a couple of times a week, like just scan it real quick and see, if there's anything wrong with it. Watches. This is a big thing too. A lot of our life is determined by our phone, and we look at the clocks on our phone, and a lot of people look at clocks on electronic things. No one uses a watch anymore. So if there is a cyber attack and it's massive and it shuts down our electrical grids, we're not going to know what time it is. So make sure you have a couple of watches ready. Get like little cheap ones, like $10 ones, and write down the time of day it is, and learn how to make a sundial as well. Sundials are going to be useful if the battery does die on your watch. That's an important one. So always just have a watch. Make sure you have access to, communication methods, extra batteries, medications that you might need. If you go to the grocery store, don't buy more than you need. Just make sure, like, if you're running low on food, like, go to the grocery store. Don't panic buy, but just go to the grocery store. Because here's the thing, too. If the power goes out, so does your fridge. So don't overbuy, but don't underbuy. Just make sure you're on top of your needs. Like, okay, if you need gas this week, don't wait till tomorrow when you're going to be at E anyway. If you can spare it, do it. Just fill up as much as you can afford, at least. It's tough today. My car costs $62 to fill up, and I feel bad for everyone that owns a truck in a construction company right now. So, nationalize gas, baby. Anyway, yeah, those are just some things you could do to take some steps to be a little more prepared. There's not much an individual citizen can do. There's more you can do when you're in a group of people, but on your own, just getting something out of that list ready, like a watch or like an analog watch or, a CB radio, or just, taking more steps to bolster your private security, learning how to drive with a map, buying a compass. If you just do one of those things, you'll be way more situationally prepared for anything than someone that didn't do any of that. So that, also getting essential supplies, rubbing alcohol, making a go bag. A cyber attack's not like a nuclear attack. You're most likely going to stay at home, but like if you're on the go, you want the bag you take with you to work or school to be somewhat prepared for an event like that. So like in my bag, which I'm going to do a kit review on Instagram at some point, I built it right after the nuclear bomb threats. It's got a handheld CB on it. It's got rubbing alcohol. It's got various maps of, Long Island and New York State in it with walking trails, road maps, and road maps. I don't know what other map I was thinking. I'm not nautical. It's got an FM AM radio in it. It's got bandages. It's got wipes for your butt after you poop. It's got face masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, a snack, and it's always got like 32 ounces to 64 ounces of water in it. And it's got an American flag in it, so that way, if there is a nuclear attack or an invasion, I could be like, hey, I'm friendly, don't shoot. Yeah, and that's really all you can do, honestly. It's just like, all I need to bring in for work is a laptop and a charger, so like I have more room to put stuff in my bag. But if you even just have some things, like maybe even just like an extra pair of clothes, or just bringing a bag with you when you do go to work, if you don't normally do that, it's good. Having a backpack in general is really underrated, and that's a huge like plus in a situation like this where the fate of the country is relatively unknown, because you can at least put stuff in it or take things with you, and that's like really undervalued. if you get separated from people or you have to run somewhere that's far away from home or an area you're not familiar with. So it's good to always just be prepared. Some people kind of laugh at me and they're like, you're being an alarmist, but when what I thought was one of the most stable leaders in the East declaring, yeah, I'm going to use my nuclear bombs, I mean, what are you going to do at that point? So it's always good to be prepared. I'll do a further walkthrough of it later, but for a cyber attack, just take out some money, have some cash on hand. You can empty your bank account, you cannot empty your bank account. It really, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter, because if the Russians empty banks, right, and they do get into your bank account, they're most likely not going to take like the low level stuff. They're going to go after like higher level monetary valued accounts. People that make like $300,000 or $400,000 just sitting in a bank account. They're going to go after them. Also, you're protected federally for reimbursement, so you're able to get reimbursed up to $250,000 in the event of banks losing money. So, say my bank account got wiped out, and obviously it's under $250,000. So the bank will just be like, all right, like, here's your money back, and they'll restore the balance. So that's a federal obligation that banks have to fulfill. So that's why I'm just kind of like, if there is going to be a cyber attack, if it's massive, it depends. Like, I feel like if there's a massive cyber attack, it'll be like 2 weeks to fix. It will be the worst 2 weeks of our lives, but, all of our money's not going to get totally ruined. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, part of me wants to run to the bank and withdraw everything I have. The other half of me is like, you're overreacting a lot. So, just having enough for the short term, until the event they restore bank access and bank card access. But other than that, just secure your computer, look into one of the many options I listed, and just stay safe out there. And good luck, I guess. Hopefully, if there's not a cyber attack, I'll see you guys relatively soon with another great episode of Backpacking America. Until next time, my friends.